Welcome to The Explainer. We're all pushing for this clean, green future, right? But what if the path to get there is paved with, well, more mining than ever before? Today, we're digging into the hidden material cost of going green. You know that picture we all have in our heads of the ideal green future? Electric cars just humming down the street, solar panels sparkling on every roof. It's a great vision, and it's the one that's driving the crucial fight against climate change. Here's the thing. To build that green dream, we need stuff, raw materials, and a lot of them. And when you look at the sheer scale of what we're going to need, you start to see this really surprising paradox at the very heart of the whole clean energy idea. All right, so let's get into the numbers, because this isn't just a small increase. The demand for these critical minerals is, and I'm not exaggerating, exploding.
So get this. The International Energy Agency says that just to hit our climate goals, we're going to need over 40 times more lithium by 2040. Just let that number sink in for a second. 40 times.
And hey, it's not just lithium. Nope. We're talking about other key players here, like cobalt and nickel. Demand for those is expected to jump by around 25 times in that same period. I mean, these are literally the building blocks for our electric future. And this table, wow, it really shows you why. An electric car needs 6 times more of these minerals than a regular gas-powered one. So you can see, switching to an EV isn't just about swapping out the engine. It's creating this massive, brand new demand for everything from copper and lithium all the way to graphite.
Okay, so where's all this stuff coming from? Well, this huge ramp up in mining, it comes at a pretty heavy cost, both for the planet and for the people living on it.
And the impacts? They're just devastating. Environmentally, you're talking about landscapes that are completely scarred, water that's poisoned, but the social cost? It's just as high. We're seeing entire communities displaced, rampant corruption, and just heartbreaking labor abuses that hit the most vulnerable people the hardest. Okay, now this is really fascinating. The connection to water. Over half of the lithium and copper we mine today comes from places that are already struggling with high water stress. Think about that. Mining is a super thirsty business, and we're doing more and more of it in some of the driest places on Earth. And the human cost is just as stark. Take the DRC. It's absolutely critical for the world's cobalt supply, but its supply chain is tangled up in these deep-rooted issues, including the just awful and persistent problem of child labor in these smaller, less regulated mines. And this quote from an Oxford study, it really nails the core of the issue. It's this gap between laws on the books and laws in practice, right? So a lot of these countries, they have environmental protection laws written down, but because of weak institutions, because of corruption, those laws, they often mean absolutely nothing. They're just not enforced. So, faced with all these really serious problems, a bunch of different initiatives are trying to find a better way. But the big question remains, can we actually clean up the very dirty business of mining? You got governments trying a couple of different things here. Some just rely on their existing national laws. Others try to negotiate specific, detailed contracts with the mining companies. But like we just saw, it doesn't really matter which approach they take if there's no political will to actually enforce the rules. So another idea is to use money as a lever for change. You have things like the Equator Principles. It's basically a deal where banks that sign on agree they won't fund mining projects unless they meet certain environmental and social standards. But here's the rub. While all these voluntary codes and corporate promises sound really good on paper, their actual real-world impact is, well, it's pretty questionable. It's just incredibly difficult to prove that they're making any meaningful difference on the ground. Okay, so this all leads to a really powerful question. If we can't guarantee that mining will be done responsibly, maybe the answer is to just mine less. And that means we need to shift our whole focus from just extracting new stuff to building a truly circular economy. And this idea, the circular economy, it gives us a roadmap. It's all about 1, designing products to last longer, 2, reusing them as much as possible, and 3, at the very end of their life, being able to efficiently get those valuable materials back so we can start the whole cycle over again. And this chart, man, it just lays out the challenge perfectly. We're actually pretty good at recycling common metals like copper and nickel. But then you look at lithium, the recycling system for it is basically non-existent today. We created this enormous demand for it, but we have no good way to get it back. But there is some good news here. The tide is starting to turn. You're seeing major economies investing a ton of money into creating these closed-loop supply chains. Europe, for example, is in a race to build up its recycling capacity, with the goal of sourcing way more of its battery minerals from right there at home.
And that brings us right back to where we started, to that central paradox. The clean future we want and need is incredibly material intensive. It forces us to confront the true cost, both environmental and human, behind every single battery, every solar panel, every wind turbine. As we move away from fossil fuels, we have to keep asking ourselves this crucial question. Are we building a truly better future, or are we just trading one set of problems for another?